Okay, so I have the Ten of Swords, and I have the Gilded Tarot, Somnia, Regular Rider White, Barbieri, Starman, and the Erotic Fantasy. You know, the Ten of Swords is a hard card for me. It always has been. However, I'm starting to not hate it as much, but it still means a lot. Like, so to me, personally, and when I read, the Ten of Swords just says something is done and over. It's not a transformation. It's not, it's not a completion that's a happy one. I feel like the Ten of Wands is like that 10 that's a happy one. 10 of Cups, 10 of Pentacles are all good, happy endings. 10 of Wands can be hard, like, you know, you really had to carry a lot of burdens to get where you wanted to be, but you made it. The 10 of Swords on the other end is just, it's done. Now, when something's done, it makes room for other things. That could be something completely, so like a transformation could mean you are finishing one phase of your life and going into a next, or you have finished your weight loss or your exercise and you are moving up into the next area. You have, in a relationship, you know, you're transforming into now a more committed relationship. Ten of Swords is like, no, it's done. Whatever the situation is, whatever you're thinking, however you're feeling, it's done. So I think it's just a final, you know, but the good part of that is that you have to have that ending to make room for something else, whatever that is. So it's just something to remember. I feel like this Ten of Swords has some hope in it because it's golden, because those swords haven't hit him yet. I feel like there's some hope in that Ten of Swords. I don't feel like it's final, but I don't feel like it's as final as some of the other cards that have the Ten of Swords in them. So that's the Gilded Tarot. The Somnia Tarot, I feel like it's talking about the doors are closing, right? Because if the coffin is closing, and I should have my black cat because that's a cool Ten of Swords too. It's different. So yeah, it's closing. The Ten of Swords are on top of that case and then closing it in. So, and that speaks of an ending too, right? The door is closing. It's done. I want to be careful because you know, to me, if there is a death card, this would be it, but I don't ever read that. And here's our Ten of Swords on the Rider White, and he is punctured. He is... And not only that, I feel like it even goes into the ground. Like it has just ended it. And when I see that, it definitely speaks not of transformation because he's even into the ground. Like the swords have gotten him down that far. So it really truly is an ending. These cards are really, I mean, if you think about it, they're really kind of tough to even look at. All of those swords are in his back. This Ten of Swords, I feel like it almost speaks of like victory, maybe in a bad sense. I mean, the guy is flying. It feels like war. That's what it feels like, but a victorious war. And sometimes war brings ending. There's a lot of that dark smoke in the background. So, you know, when I see this, it's hard for me to read sometimes because in my meaning, in my head, the meanings are Ten of Swords means it's over, it's done. But this does not feel like it. This feels like it's progress. Like maybe it's winning and walking away, more like a Five of Swords feeling. That's kind of how I feel in that one. This one is very interesting. It's two people holding on to each other here and here. And I feel like that's saying that, you know, it's like, but we're done, we're over, we're done. And it's not like a relationship, it's like that struggle. And those swords coming out of the sky, it feels very violent. Even though the colors don't feel violent, it feels violent. The more I look at this one, I feel it feels pretty violent. And it feels like almost scary. Like it's like they're turning and going into the ground. That's interesting. I've never seen that quite like that before. And then we have the, I'm trying to bring this one into the mix a little bit, the Erotic Fantasy Tarot. I don't feel as an ended as much. She does have the skull saying, you know, this is over, and maybe that's the point of the card that says this is over. These cards do have different meanings because they have the fantasy meaning and the erotic meaning. You know, and it could even be like, you know, at the end of a, you know, but she almost feels satisfied. She almost looks satisfied to me. Like, I look on her face. It almost feels satisfied. So whatever is ending, it has satisfied her. So, and then maybe in the erotic sense, that could be what that is. I'm going to actually pull the little booklet on that. I have, when I do these compares, I have decks everywhere. So this is swords. Let me find it. 10. So, moment of transition. So the fantasy meaning is the conditions at the end of the battle. The erotic meaning is the death of one desire, is the condition required for the birth of a new one. So one desire is done to tap into another desire. The action is process the trauma of change and accept the rebirth that comes after it. And even though I don't believe it's a rebirth card, like a death card, there it is about making room for something else. And that's kind of interesting. This deck's going to be interesting. So there you have it. That's the Ten of Swords.